This thing on? Oh, it is. Oh no. Oh no. I tell Matt every year the worst thing you could do is give me a microphone because I'll use it. So I enjoy microphones. All right, let me tell you first of all, one, thank you for being here. Two, I'm legally obligated to remind you that if you choose to partake in said beverages, you should not be entering the challenge course immediately following this conversation we're about to have. So you have to make a choice. But legally, I've been asked to remind you multiple times that you should not then get on your motorcycle and go ride the very challenging course. That's why it's called a challenge course. So, you all promise Scout's honor? Okay. Oh, all right. At the very least, I told you. You heard me. I'm legally no longer responsible for you. Okay. Excellent. So, thank you for coming out. My name is Ben. You might know me as Dork in the Road. I have a YouTube channel that I started 7 years ago, I think, at this point. And for some reason, people keep watching videos and subscribing, and now I'm like, I've got 120,000 subscribers, so, and that's all thanks to you guys. So, thank you, all of you, first and foremost, for, if you weren't watching and clicking those affiliate links and doing all that silly stuff that I ask you to do, I wouldn't get to do this for a job, and I have the best job on earth, and I'm the luckiest guy on earth, and I have all of you to thank, so thank you for that. The idea behind what we're doing here is just like a super chill, informal kind of, if you got questions, I'm happy to answer them. Last year I had this really grand idea that we were gonna have like a whole like collaborative conversation, which does not work when only one guy has a microphone, but there may be times when, you know, you guys have something to contribute or whatever. I was a high school teacher for 10 years, and not the ones that are like, you will follow every single rule and procedure from the second you walk in. I was much more into the chaos and the learnings that happen, those teachable moments, right? Stuff that comes up like spur of the moment, and you get the chance to kind of dive into something else that's interesting. So if you have questions, you have thoughts. I mean, it's probably good if you raise your hand, just because I can't listen to all of you at once. But really, this is kind of just a chance for us to hang out. A lot of people, you know, the message, they're like, you know, yeah, I hope I run into you at the rally. So I just like, what if I make a place where you'll definitely run into me? And that's what this is. So thank you all for being here, for braving the heat, for quitting your riding early enough to be here. Last year I was later. I was complaining to Matt about it because it's way more fun when it's like later in the evening and everybody's kind of already settled into their drinking routine, and I don't have to make legal disclaimers about not being able to enter the challenge course. But anyway, so I'm not here to talk at you, I'm here to talk to you. And I will resort to bribery if I have to, but no, don't start. You're all making a pact. Well, let's hold out, so don't worry. Don't worry. So I'm here to answer your questions and talk to you and share, I'm not going to say wisdom, but thoughts, feelings about whatever things you might have questions about. So does anyone have, oh, this guy's, you've been waiting for a month to raise your hand and ask this question.
Craziest thing that's ever happened to you in your Moto adventure?
Well, it was on video, you saw it.
I know, but other people should hear it.
Oh, well, it's probably my buddy breaking his leg in Canada last year. And it was the damnedest thing because we went up to, you know, this really nice event. It's a fundraiser, it's a camp out, it's a bunch of people we know. And we decided we're gonna take it easy. You know, it's 14 hours up here. We're just gonna go out and do a light, easy ride over the mountain and some gravel to a really cool, like we were trying to go to Telegraph Cove, which is like this old, like classic kind of town, but it's like up on a pier, like on pilings. We're gonna just have lunch at a pub and come back. That was our plan. And we get out, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes from camp, we hit gravel, not even like a quarter mile off the road. There's this bridge, right? Concrete bridge, and it's got railroad tracks through it. And I don't know what happened exactly. I did have it on camera so you can kind of see what happens. Trav doesn't remember anything from the day, so he doesn't know what happened exactly. But there's a railroad track, and then there's like a gap next to it. And at some point I think he was turning, I'm pretty sure his B camera on his handlebars was on. And so I think he was maybe messing with it because we were about to hit the gravel. And when he looked up, he was headed straight into the rut. And like, instead of maybe just riding through it or whatever, he tried to correct and get out of it. And so putting, you know, all of the tread of his tire on the slippery railroad track. And so you can see in the video, he just, bam, like hits the ground like super hard and his head smacked the ground. And I went up to him, right? And I've seen this guy go down 100 times, you know, no. So I was like giving him shit. It was just like, ah, oh, whatever, bro. And then he pulls his leg out and his foot is 90 degrees in the wrong direction. And Well, I said a few choice words, but I was like, oh, F, dude, you're effed. We're hitting the button, is what I said. And we tried. It doesn't, it takes a minute to send on the inReach. And as it was sending, my buddy Eddie was like, we had cell phone service at that store 10 minutes up the road. And I was like, go call right now. And so he did, and they were there in 15 minutes. All volunteer firefighters and paramedics on the island in the middle of nowhere, northern Vancouver Island. They were there in 15 minutes. So spectacular. That was a weird day. And then I rode all the way home, and then got home at like 11:30, slept in my own bed, got up at 7 in the morning, got in the car, and drove back up to pick him up to get him home. So that was a weird one.
Travis's heat stroke was a good lesson.
Yeah, that was. Trav had a bad year, I wish he was here. He's doing really good. So that's probably number one question I've been getting at the rally is, how do you like your 790? More than I wish I did. And two is, how's Travis doing? And he's doing great. The guy, he's not really making content right now, so you haven't seen these updates, but he started working out, and he's got this new girlfriend. He's just living life. He was just in a weird funk, and he had a bad year. And some people would maybe take that and it would be a reason to kind of, I don't know, give up is the wrong phrase, but he was like, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. And he really, he's always been a hell of a guy, but that's just one of the most impressive things I've seen him do. So I wish he was here, but he's too cool for us now. He's camping with his girlfriend this weekend. But I bought his trailer and it's here, so a lot of people think he's here because I didn't take the sticker off, so I could drive like a dick the whole way up here. I did. I sold it to buy his because he needed money to pay for his surgery in Canada that his insurance didn't cover. So I was like, well, it's taller than mine. I'll buy it from you and give you a little money. What's up, man? In the back?
So if you do a long trip for days and days, is there a certain hour where it gets kind of weird in your head and in your helmet?
Interesting. Okay, so the question is... Oh, good, okay.
What is that time when that happens?
So when you're on a long trip, is there a time when it gets sort of weird in your helmet? First of all, 7 a.m. right when I wake up. It's weird in my helmet. And what's the sign that it's time to stop riding?
No, just I call it bucket head.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it depends, right? Because and different things make you tired in different ways, right? Like a long day of slab riding is exhausting. And a long day of off-road riding is exhausting, but in entirely different ways, right? So, and the heat makes a difference. I don't know, there's definitely a point when you were like, I've been riding for 20 minutes and I don't remember any of it. Kind of like in your car, you're like, how the hell did I get here? And on a motorcycle, that's a hell of a lot more dangerous because you just don't have four walls around you. And so at that point, it's either time to stop, hydrate, or it's time to get off the bike and stop riding for the day. When it's not fun and you're not paying attention to it and it's just work, that's when you hurt yourself, at the end of the day when you're tired. So, I don't know. I like to quit when I'm tired. I try not to push too far, unless it's there's a really nice campground, 20 miles more. We'll find the energy, but yeah, I don't know. Did I really answer your question? Yeah. Okay, bucket head. You don't want to get that bucket head. That's bad. Bucket head bad. What's up, Mr. Fox?
Rumor is you hate 690s.
Oh my God.
You just released that video.
No, here's what I love about the motorcycle community, okay? Sorry, the question was, rumor is you hate 690s. And admittedly, I put the word hate on the thumbnail, but that's only because I knew it would get clicks. And it always works. People always engage and leave comments, which actually helps me even when you're leaving angry comments, because YouTube sees it all as engagement. They don't care if you're mad or not. But people get very passionate about their motorcycle, about the brands that and that's all great. And I love that. What I don't love is when they assume that that's the only way to think and the only thing to like, right? I dislike that. You're entitled to love whatever you love. You're not entitled to tell other people what they should love or what they should do, right? So all I said, so people see that video and they're like, they're not listening to what I'm saying. They're waiting for something to disagree with. You notice that? Because I never said, I didn't say 690's bad. I said, I don't think I would buy this because it's more work than I want to do. And I can probably do many of the same things on this, and it's easier to ride. So it's not for me. That doesn't mean it's not for you. A lot of people. I don't know if I hope he's not here. Somebody wrote me a 2-page email about why I was wrong. And at first I was like, what the hell? And my buddy was like, you know, that means he really values your opinion. And I was like, damn it, that's a really optimistic take on that. I hate you. You're right. That's true. But no, I had no hate. I just wrote it and was like, this isn't what I thought it was, and that's okay. That's good, right? You have to eliminate things. Because I was legitimately worried I was going to want to buy one. And it's nice when I don't do that sometimes, because I have a real habit of test riding things that I have no intention of buying. Oh, look at that, 790 right behind me. And then buying them anyway. So, no, I do not hate 690s. And if you like them, you're so cool. So cool. Like, not just a little cool, like all of the cool.
When will Matt stop telling people about 501?
When will Matt stop trolling? Matt's such a poser. Is he here? No? Okay. Yeah. And, well, I was hoping he would. He was, so I'd lean into it. No, but, you know, you guys know Tall Man Moto, right? He sold his Africa Twin and bought a Husky 501, and he still talks KTMs. And you're like, you have one. And he's like, the linkage is different. I don't think he knows where the linkage is, just for the record. I'm pretty sure he doesn't. But, you know, it's different. It's not the same. It's not the same. Yeah. So I don't know, probably never. He'll just keep singing the virtues until something bad happens and he has to pay money, and then he'll be like, I'm going back to Hondas.
Hey, where's your Transalp?
Transalp's at home.
Oh, man.
Because I brought this, I didn't bring the 790 because it's my favorite or whatever. I brought it because Cyclops guys sent me a bunch of lights, and I was like, wait, I have to do wiring? So I was like, what if I just bring it to Touratech and you put them on for me and I'll film it? And so that's what I did. So that's why the 790's here. No other ulterior motive there. And it was at 950 miles when I left, and it's at like 998 right now. So I like to get bikes to 1,000 miles. Really feel like I've ridden them before I review them. So and having finally gotten it out on some of the beautiful terrain out here and a little bit of the Oregon BDR, I feel like I'm finally ready to kind of review it. So that video will be soonish. But I have a BDR trip to get through first, so we'll see. Hopefully I survive. What's up?
Have you got any experience with the inReach actually using it and how they respond?
The question is, have I used an inReach and actually, like, you mean the SOS?
Yeah.
I haven't, because the one time we realized it would be faster to call, because all they do is then call the local authorities. So if you can just get to them directly, that makes more sense. I haven't used it. I've just probably all the same things you guys have seen about how long it takes, and kind of the two-way communication is nice. People always ask me, do I need it now that I have the iPhone with the blah blah blah? And my argument is yes, because it only works in an emergency situation, right? The iPhone, but your inReach, it's like you could be like, I forgot my glasses. Can you bring them to me? You can send those messages, right? Or the chain came off and I can't fix it. Can you just bring the truck, right? You can do that. And those emergencies are a lot more common, and you don't always want to pull the ripcord on an SOS. So, but in terms of actually using it, I haven't done that, and I hope I never have to. But I would imagine as often as I'm out there, I'll come across something someday where we'll have to do it. Came close. What's up, man?
If I take the reverb off your mic.
Is it you don't like how I sound like I'm at the end of a very long castle hallway? I don't care what you do to it. What's up, in the back?
Two questions. One,
Oh, sorry, you only get one. Pick your favorite. I'm kidding.
I put a semicolon.
There you go. Yeah. I love semicolons.
Did you test ride the BMW 1300 GS?
No.
And how so?
I didn't. Nailed it. No, I thought about it. I haven't yet. I rode the 900 today, and the key fob disappeared, and I feel bad about it. So I don't think they're going to let me go out again. It's not my fault, okay? They had it strapped to the bars, and it came off when I was aggressively hitting every pothole I could find. Not my fault. What's your question?
So, are you going to try out the Pan America?
I have. I got 2 test ride videos on the Pan America on the channel. Yeah. I've ridden it on the street, ridden it off-road. Hold on.
Your opinion?
So, my opinion is often greatly colored by what I think will make sense for the channel. And I don't know, most of the people who watch me are not buying $25,000, 600-pound motorcycles. So I like it as a bike. I'm glad that it exists. And if I was like taking off to the East Coast and back, that's a bike I'd want to be on. But but 600 pounds is a lot. I really love middleweight adventure bikes. Like, I'm so happy that they keep making more of them. That, like, it's not that much less comfortable on the road, and I just feel so much better. And I'm not saying it's better, I'm saying I feel better off the road when I'm on a lighter bike like this. So, I'm glad it's there. More power to you if you love it, but I don't think it's for me.
I thought it would be a good bike to go to Montana just to ride forest road.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's kind of, which is kind of what I was saying. I rode the Ibex today, right? And it's like, it's kind of like the Trans Alp, where it's a bike that I would love to do 1,000 miles on, and then 50 or 100 miles of gravel at the end. But it's not the bike I'm going to take on the most technical, difficult stuff, because that's just not what it's for. And that's okay. Bikes are made for different things. They don't all have to do it all, and there's no perfect one, sadly. If there was, we'd all own it. What's up in the back? Yeah, we can't ride the 450 yet, but I'm told at Get On ADV Fest in South Dakota, we will be able to ride it. So, looking forward to that. Yeah, but no, the 800. Yeah. What's up? What's your question? You've been very patient. I appreciate you.
A couple of years ago, you had that 901. You made that big speed stuff one. What's perfect for your channel? Both got the low fuel tank and all that thing. How would you compare? Which is your favorite? Obviously, that one appeals more to your channel.
Yeah. So the question is, I had the Norden 901. Some of you remember that. Did the Washington BDR on it. And then at one point, January, 2 years ago, I was like trying to kind of reevaluate and just make sure that my channel was creating the content that the audience that I know exists was most interested in. And so it didn't make sense to keep it, right? Because again, the vast majority, and the views tell the story. Like, look at the views on my Norden review versus my Tenere review, right? And it's just like, $16,000 motorcycles are not generally what the majority of people that watch my channel are after. So I sold it. And so I get this question a lot. Well, then why the hell did you turn around and buy a 790? Because they came out with one that costs $11,000. And that's suddenly like, okay, for some reason that $10,000 mark is like it seems to be a real sweet spot, right? People can come up with $10,000, or they feel comfortable taking out a loan or whatever in a way that's paying 50% more than, like 10 to 15 doesn't sound like that much until you're like, that's 50% more. It's a different, like, you have to be a lot more committed, I feel like. And so the fact that this exists and costs the same as a Tenere or a Trans Alp I felt like was worth investigating and worth giving up my sort of bias, admittedly anecdotal, right? Because I haven't actually owned one until now against KTMs, and actually putting it to test, right? Put my money where my mouth is. I can't talk forever if I don't actually have the experience of owning one. So it made sense to buy it, and they're very similar. That low fuel tank thing, I won't tell you what it looks like, but it rhymes with Rotom. This is the ugliest damn bike I've ever owned by a mile. But God, it's so fun to ride. What I'm starting to understand is that I don't think anyone would argue that there's definitely more murmuring out there about issue, like the camshaft issue and the dirt ingestion issue with these bikes. But people put up with it for a reason, and I'm starting to understand the reason, I think, which is what scares me, because I don't want to fall in love with it because it's going to break my heart. I just know it will. Did I answer your question? You had it. Okay. Yeah. What's up, man?
Having done all the middleweight stuff, and I know you already released the Desert X, but after seeing a bunch of other bikes and riding a bunch of other bikes at different price points, what do you think of the Desert X now that you've had stuff like this?
So the question was, having ridden a lot of bikes, and thank you for noticing, my goal is, I just don't feel like I can give good recommendations unless I have a lot of experience on a lot of things, and so I voraciously devour any opportunity I get to get on a bike. What do I think of the Desert X? I think it's Italian. I think it's beautiful. I think it's well crafted. I think it's very fun. I think it does its job, and I think it costs 30% more than it needs to. But God, it's a fun bike to ride. And it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, right? And there's a certain type of person that really wants that. And there's nothing wrong. My buddy's fake name is Duck Fan because he loves Ducatis and the stupid Oregon Ducks. And so he's like, I'll be clever. But he's just, it's worth it to him, right? The aesthetic, and everything else that comes with it. It's like, the Italians are all about form, right? And Germans are all about function. And they both cost more because of reasons. So I think the Desert X is this beautiful machine. It does not make sense for my channel, and I realized a couple years ago that it doesn't make sense for me to buy bikes for myself anymore. It makes sense for me to buy bikes because I had this idea that I'd keep bikes for myself and I'd keep bikes for the channel, but I never ride the bikes because I have to go to work, and I'm not complaining, but I just don't have time. I only have one ass. I can only ride one bike at a time, so it doesn't make sense to have a bunch that I don't ride. So I think it's a great bike. Sheen would agree. Where'd he go? Oh, he wasn't here to hear all that? Man, I would have made his day. What's up, Drinky guy?
What's your take on the tidal wave of Chinese bikes, Chinese motors, and is this like Japanese bikes from the 80s, or?
Okay, touchy subject. So, but I told myself I wasn't going to shy away from any questions, so I'll be honest with you. First of all, and I just need to make this very clear, politics is not my job. My job is to ride motorcycles and talk about motorcycles, and if there are more motorcycles coming in that people can buy, that some of you might buy, and I feel like it's my job to get experience with them. I will say, so I've ridden a spectrum of Chinese bikes. Like I had those Brazes, right? You guys remember the ones I put together in the garage. And and that's a $1,700 brand new 250cc motorcycle, just a clone of like it's an old Honda engine, right? They had this idea that they would send out all the manufacturing parts to all over the world so they could spin up production really quickly, and like everybody just kind of kept them and started making them, keep continuing to make the motors. That's what those 250s are. Like the Janus guys, Janus motorcycles, they use the same motor. It's the same motor that's in the Bras. And those are, well, they're $1,500. So my brother had a Hawk, right? Like they run, but it's not a bike I'd ride forever. But I rode the Ibex today, and I kept saying like, this bike, you have a certain expectation, or you used to, right? Of like, this is a Chinese motorcycle and it's going to feel a little kind of chintzy, and they don't. Like they're just a lot more refined these days. So and this is a Chinese motorcycle. Like they built this in China at the same factory where they're making those Ibexes. So it's hard to avoid. If you're dead set on avoiding Chinese manufacturing, it's difficult because all of your manufacturers are buying parts from there now, because it's just where it's cheapest, and capitalism demands profit, right? But what am I trying to say? I'm excited about what's coming out, and I think at the very least because it will drive innovation through competition. That if you sat on that 450 Ibex, the thing, oh man, I think I might go home and pre-order one, because I think it's $6,500. Like, it's a lot of bike. So I'm excited to see what comes, and I'm excited to see how the manufacturers we know and love respond to it. Maybe we'll finally get a DRZ that's fuel injected. I hope so. What's that?
What was the hardest part about transitioning?
That's a great question. So what was the hardest part about transitioning to doing YouTube full time? So a lot of you know that, God, time flies when you're having fun. We're almost halfway done. That I was a teacher. So I was a teacher for 10 years. The last 2 years, I was a teacher on special assignment. So I was managing a district-wide program and coaching other teachers. That was my job. And honestly, you said what was the toughest thing about it? Figuring out how to pay my bills. But again, this is how, when I say like I'm the luckiest guy on earth, because it was such a whirlwind. Because I was like, in my head, I was like, if I can someday get to 100K, I can maybe pay my bills enough to quit this job. And it's hard to get, like, I had PERS, I've got good insurance. Like, it's really hard to walk away from that kind of, I had 10-year seniority, like, but I went to the Giant Loop ride in, what year was that, 2021? Yeah, it would have been 3 years ago. Did a presentation, and then randomly was talking to Dan, who was a general manager at the time, and I was like, you guys ever think about bringing somebody on to run your YouTube channel? Because when I search for Giant Loop, your videos don't come up, and I hate that. And he's like, yeah, we've thought about it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, because I think it would be really, and he's like, wait, this is the quote, I'll never forget it. Are you offering your services? He said. And I was like, yes, I am. Yeah, I think that would be great. So he was like, oh my God, let me talk to Harold. They did. We had a meeting a week later. So the Giant Loop ride is the first week in June. This is important, okay? Because when the school year ends. So they talked. I met with him a week later, and a week after that, I was hiring my replacement because of the supplemental income, right? That gig, that making content for them provided. So I will be forever grateful to those guys, because they're the reason I was able to start this. Otherwise, I hit 100K last December. And I think that maybe would have been the point, based on the amount of money that YouTube generates, where I would have been able to do it. So I got to jump ahead like 2.5 years. So the hardest part was the financials, but I just got like a cheat code, which is great. And it helps that my wife works for the state, so I still have her benefits because honestly, I don't know if I can afford healthcare otherwise. So that's why I say I'm the luckiest guy on earth. I really am, because all these stars just kind of aligned all at once. And I try to be appreciative, because any one thing could have gone wrong, and I'd still be, slaving away at the district office with no air conditioning.
Preach it, brother.
See, you know.
31 years teaching, right?
You're still there? You're supposed to retire after 30. Did nobody tell you?
I have 11 more years.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Hey, we appreciate
Yeah, you're a saint.
Oh,
You're a saint. Yeah. Who have I neglected over here? Okay, what's up, Mr. Neon Man?
You can see me, right?
Yeah.
So back on the 790 and the IBEX 800 deal, correct me if I'm wrong, but the IBEX 800 is the same motor as the 790.
You're wrong. No, I'm kidding. You're not. They are, yeah. Was that a question?
Kind of.
Okay. So
Make sure we're all on the same page with that Chinese motor.
same, yeah. So CF Moto manufactures these bikes. It says so right on the sticker for KTM, and it's interesting that you say that, because I came away from that test ride with two big sort of revelations, because I just assumed they're kind of the same. And really, the only thing that's the same is the motor. Just look at the fuel tank, right? It's all the way down there, and you can see the IBEX over there. It's up high, that's a touring bike, more of a touring bike. This is more of an off-road sort of designated bike. So even the character of the engine feels different.
Okay. I've ridden the IBEX one time, and I won't ride it.
Well, they have actually. There's a whole big trailer over there. It's orange. I don't know if you saw it. Yeah. Or you can ride a 790 if you want. Yeah, but not tonight. Oh, by the way, legally obligated to remind you that if you've chosen to partake in any beverages, you may not participate in the challenge course. Matt will personally spank you. He told me. What's up in the middle? You're very visible and there's no one near you. What's up with that?
Hell yeah.
That's a great question. So as a former teacher, do I feel like any of my skills translated over?
Maybe not your vocabulary.
What? Yeah. Wrangling a bunch of unruly teenagers. That's what you guys are. It's funny you ask, because I volunteered to go back to career day at my old high school, because kids have this idea that they're all going to be influencers, right? Like, if you ask them, the number one job they all say they're going to have is that they want to be influencers. And so the least I could do is go back and try to talk them out of it. Because there's work involved, shockingly. But one of my slides is like trying to convince them that education is a good idea. You shouldn't just start doing Twitch and hope for the best. And I talk about specifically how my teaching experience and my teaching education, right? I learned to explain things to a group of people that maybe are, if not actively hostile, somewhat disinterested at best, at what you want to say. I learned how to stand up in front of a crowd with zero plan and somehow get through an hour, which is what we're doing now. I was a theater teacher too, and I've been doing improv since I was 18. So that plus my teaching experience, the ability to and I kind of amaze myself. Like sometimes I tune out and just listen to what's coming out of my mouth, and I'm just like, where is this coming from? But the ability to kind of rant, but mostly coherently, I remember in high school, a teacher would give this long sort of motivational kind of speech, right? And I was always like, how the hell do you come up with all of that? And then 25 years later, I find myself opening night of a show giving this great rousing speech off the top of my head about how, you'll remember this for the rest of your life and get out there and leave it all on the stage. And so, a lot of that I think applies, has really been helpful in what I do. And, I think if I have strengths, and I'm not one to toot my own horn necessarily, but explaining things I feel like I'm pretty good at. And that's because I spent so many years doing it. In a way that's kind of understandable and digestible, and discarding the information that you don't care about, which is another essential skill that teachers develop, because it's hard enough to get kids interested in Shakespeare without dropping a bunch of crap that's related to it that they don't have any interest in on top of them. So the cheat code is just point out all the dick jokes. They get really interested in Shakespeare, and there's a lot. Yeah, or at least be like, you'll read the line and just be like, and half the class will laugh, and then they'll whisper in the ear of the other half, and they'll all laugh, and you just keep going. I didn't say it. There's stuff in here that I could not say to you or I'd get fired. But Shakespeare wrote it, so we can read it. It's really bad. Yeah, it's great. What's up in the back?
This is an easy one.
Uh-oh.
What's the first motorcycle you bought with your own money?
as opposed to what, my dad's money?
That you earned.
First motorcycle I bought was my CB500F. And that was my street bike. And the first video that actually did okay was my review of that bike. And I actually set out to buy a 300F. And I test rode one. So long story short, I got my motorcycle endorsement when I was 17, but I never got a bike. Like, my dad and I, we had a couple projects that we never really made much progress on, mostly because I had zero interest in working on motorcycles. I just wanted to ride one. So I didn't actually buy a bike till I was 38 years old. And so I had an endorsement, but no experience. So I was like, give me the easiest bike to ride. And the 300 was pretty underwhelming, and I thought, I can probably handle the 500. And I found a good deal on one. And it was a great bike. What's really funny about that, thinking back, is I was like, should I get this 500X thing or should I get this 500F, right? And I sat on the X and I was like, this is too tall. It's too tall for me. Which is like one of the lowest seat height. Like, I can flat foot the thing. I had one, I bought one, right? But at the time I was like, no, this is too tall for me. And then later in life I buy a 450L with a 38-inch seat height or whatever. But yeah, first bike I bought was a CB500F. And riding around a lot, and I kept ending up on gravel roads, and but super butt puckery, and I was like, okay, there's got to be a way that I can go look at what to do. And I watched too much Everride, so full props to Everride at all times, because that guy has inspired many, myself included. And I went out and bought a 250L, and it was literally all downhill from there. Also with my own money. Yeah. Well, in fact, all the bikes I bought have been with my own money. Except for the Brazos they did give to me. So I guess I didn't buy those. I bought them with my effort, my video making, and beating crap out of them. Oh man, I thought we were gonna have to go to bribery. What's up?
All-time favorite ride and why?
Like location?
Yeah.
All-time favorite ride, that's the question. That's a tough one. I don't know, I want it to be one of the BDRs, but like neither of them went very well. Like both times Tim and I were the only ones that finished, right? And he was supposed to come with us on the one I'm doing next month, and he was like, I have a wedding, I can't go. And I was like, that's probably better for everyone else that's going, because they won't all not make it through.
What BDRs? Which BDRs?
I've done Washington and Oregon. So
okay.
So before Washington, I'd only ever done one multi-night moto camping trip, and it was 2 nights. So that was a big one, because you think things are hard and impossible, and then you do them, and it's like your mind was opened up, right? Like they thought humans would explode if they ran a 4-minute mile or whatever, or if they went over 33 miles an hour. That was a thing, and then they did, and then suddenly everyone was doing it, right? Everyone was running a 4-minute mile. Same thing. So I feel like the Wobbler was a real kind of. I learned a lot. Like I took 80 pounds of gear on that trip. I weighed it when I got home. I took so much just in case crap. Like, what was I doing? Thank God that other than section 2 and 3, the Wobbler's not super difficult. But yeah, so you'll notice when I went on the Oregon BDR the following year, I was on a dual sport bike, and I had like 35 pounds of gear. So it was very enlightening, which was good. But that one's pretty memorable. My favorite event ever is that first Giant Loop ride, where I came in as random dude who maybe in someday 5 years from now can do this full time, and left as dude who's probably going to quit his job next week. So that was a pretty good one. I like that one.
How'd you manage the oil changes?
What's that?
How'd you manage the oil changes in Oregon with that Honda? I got 2 500s. I can go from me to you at 2 oil changes.
Okay, so the question was, how did I manage oil changes on the BDR? Because the Oregon BDR is 750 miles, and you got to get there and you got to get home. Well, I cheated. So I was like, I went to my wife, I was like, I know this really beautiful hot springs in southeastern Oregon. What if we went there in, I don't know, July, and spent a couple nights romantically sleeping, in this really nice place and checking out the hot springs and the beautiful scenery nearby? And what if my 450L was on the back of the 4Runner and you just drove it home afterward, and I just went, so I didn't ride all the way down there. But I also, I'd seen a ton of research online, people like in the 450 groups sending their oil into Blackstone after like 1,100 miles, and basically I felt pretty confident pushing it to 1,200, considering I wasn't not out there racing, right? And it was fine. I got home and I changed it and it looked okay. So I probably had 1,300 miles on that oil when I got home, but I changed it right before we went, so it was fresh. Yeah, I worried about that too. I thought maybe I was gonna have to do a drain and fill halfway, but I just rolled the dice. It's a Honda, right? Sure. Tim didn't change his either, and he rode all the way out, and well, he was on the 690 on that trip, but he didn't change it on the 500 on the Washington trip either. So it didn't explode any more than normal. What's up?
What are the frustrating parts of the motorcycle industry? The things that get the bend?
What are the so of motorcycle industry or of like making videos about the motorcycle industry?
Motorcycle industry.
Okay.
The whole life.
So the question is, what are the frustrating things about the motorcycle industry? I would not consider myself an expert, like because I don't pretend to be a journalist, right? I'm not trying to get press passes, and I'm just a random dude. Like, you get what you get, and that's what you get. So sometimes I'm not professional enough for certain credentials, which is fine because I feel like you have to be objective, and I don't want to be. Everything I say and do is filtered through who I am. Sorry, like that's the point of being a person. But one of the most frustrating things is it depends on, like, it's wildly different between like manufacturers and brands in terms of like they're stuck in like 1970, where like some people understand the value of this whole like this whole social media thing, right? And certain companies here doing test rides won't let you wear a camera on your helmet, like, which is just so backwards to me because it's free advertising, right? But whatever. So it's interesting. You talk to one brand, they get it, they love it, they're all about it. You talk to another brand, and they're like, "Why the hell would I care, Mr. Random YouTube guy?" Right? Like, which is fine. I don't expect people to care, but some people do, and that's nice, and some people don't. So that just sort of the unevenness, like this, and you see this at dealerships too. Although it's kind of going away because the old mom and pop. I know everybody at the dealership, they're all old salts that have been riding around the area forever. It's kind of going away because all the dealerships are getting bought up by these mega corporations and just hiring minimum wage people until they quit. But just kind of uneven like that, that's kind of frustrating. I don't feel like I'm enough of an insider to really delve into anything beyond that necessarily, just what I deal with, which is, trying to work with brands and get on bikes and help companies promote their stuff, But I find that pretty frustrating. What's up, man?
As an ex-Harley Davidson employee, I will say that everything you just said is 100% true.
Okay, which is as an ex-Harley employee, everything I said is true?
And I'll top you on that. I worked here locally a year ago for a year when the Pan Americas basically made their debut. Mm-hmm. I could not get that dealership to push that bike.
Yeah.
They're like, Harley's going to get rid of it. It's crap. Nobody cares about it. And it's like, we got to sell them, and there's a market for them.
Right. There's a lot of stuck in their ways, right? Like,
absolutely.
Because there's only one segment of the motorcycle world that's growing right now, and we're in it. Wow. It's why they keep coming out with. It's why the middleweights, like BMW, scrapped the 850 and made a whole new one, because adventure and dual sport is the only segment that's growing. And Harley is smart to jump on that, right? Because all the boomers, no offense, but like all the boomers that buy these expensive cruisers, they're dying, so I'm sorry. I just mean demographically speaking. I'm not talking about literal people in front of me.
You have to start bribing them.
Okay, sorry to point it out.
He just killed over.
Don't go into the light. So they're trying to get a market that's growing, right?
But you know what was even worse? As an employee, they wouldn't even make me a deal on a Pan America. You know what I went and bought? A Super Tenere 1200. I rode it to work every day. Yeah! In that parking lot.
So it's you could go to another dealer who's not like that at all, who's like super savvy and like on top of it.
Most Harley dealership.
Okay, well, I'm trying to not bash on it. Harley's not the ones that won't let you wear a camera, by the way. I've made 2 test ride videos on Harleys. So we're not here crap talking Harleys. Clyder and Jim are some of the coolest guys I know, but I mean, you're crap talking Harley, but I'm not.
I got 12 years.
Yeah. You earned it.
I'm never going back.
You earned it. Okay, what's up? Giant loop shirt. That's what I like to see.
So with electronics being equipped on most modern day motorcycles, which manufacturer do you think is putting out kind of the best UI, best electronic package overall as far as traction control, ride mode?
Good question. So the rise of electronic aids or hindrances, depending on who you ask, on our motorcycles, and which company is putting out the best sort of both UI, so like the user experience of using it, and also ride modes and all of that. I will say, if you told me of like 2 years ago I was about to say what I'm going to say, I would slap you in the face. One of the things I love about this 790 At $11,000 is it's the same electronic suite that is in the 890, and it's one of the most intuitive kind of off-road modes I've ever used. It's got the 6-axis IMU. There is no bike that I'm aware of, I could be wrong, and I'm often wrong, for around the $11,000 price point that's got as sophisticated an electronic suite as this has. And I did the whole Washington BDR on my Norden in off-road mode. I never put it in, it's Explore mode on the Norden. It's rally mode on this. I have rally mode, I never use it because the off-road mode is just that good. It seems to just know what I'm trying to do. Even like in the sand, like you can spin the tires, but if you start to get a little sideways, like I say, it's like the hand of God just tapping you back into your line. So I will say it's a little clunky getting in and out of the settings, and sometimes forgets your favorites, but in terms of, and I don't have a ton of experience, like, because I don't go for the premium brands much, so I've ridden a Tiger a few times. I thought that the ride rays on that were pretty good. I didn't get into the, there's Enduro and Enduro Pro on the GS, and I just kept it in Enduro, and that kept all the ABS and stuff on, so I was a little disappointed. But you got to set the other one, right? And I don't have time to sit there and mess with settings, so I just try to see what the automatic mode does. But in terms of rider aids, I really like the KTM system. I really do. User interface is a good. Do I like the one on my Honda? I like that it's so nice for the price. I've ridden the Africa Twin, the new Africa Twin, a few times. It feels a little complicated to me, but it's like you have to learn it. You got limited controls, and you kind of have to learn where things are. So I don't know if I'm qualified to answer the UI question.
Didn't you have an Africa?
It's 16. Yeah, I didn't have a screen. Yeah, that's back when they were motorcycles and not spaceships. What's your question?
So you got endorsed at 17, and then you bought your first bike at 38.
Mm-hmm.
What was the biggest surprise that had changed in the ensuing 21 years?
Ooh, good question. That's a good question. So I got my endorsement at 17 and got my first motorcycle at 38. And what was the biggest surprise when I finally got on one? Damn. Remember I said good question? That doesn't mean I had a good answer. Honestly, I think I bought that 500, and I think it was kind of scary. I think maybe how scary it was, because at 17, I went and took the class, and I was like, just you're bulletproof, right? It's a different experience learning something difficult and dangerous at an older age when you have like a family to worry about, particularly off-road riding. I think I ride with people who started when they were 7, and it's like watching Picasso paint. It's effortless because they learned at a time when there were no consequences for failure. And so they've never thought about it, right? But you start doing something like that at 38, and there are a lot of consequences for failure, and you think about it a lot. So I get in my own head a lot. So that was maybe the biggest surprise, was it wasn't how I remembered, because when I was younger, I didn't know enough to know anything. You don't know what you don't know. And now I do know what I don't know, and that's horrifying. What's up? You're sitting down. What's you?
What's your favorite YouTuber?
Favorite YouTuber? Great question. Great question. You guys watch Camping with Steve?
Yeah.
So, okay. If you do, I thought, so if I knew if a bunch of you did, there would be a very enthusiastic yeah. I love that guy. He's everything I want to be in a YouTuber, because he's just like, if you don't know, Camping with Steve's a Canadian guy. He lives in Edmonton, and he just goes and camps in like the middle of a roundabout, or like in a drainage ditch under a highway. And he's just stealth camping, right? But he'll just go out. He camped behind a bunch of donation boxes at like a Goodwill one time, but he's like the nicest. I mean, all Canadians are pretty. I'm sure there's some here. They have that reputation, right? But he's just such a cool, humble dude. He's got like 500,000 subscribers, but you'd never know it. But he's just so chill and just himself, and just so genuine. And I aspire to be that forever, right? Like a guy that has gotten you could even call it fame at his level, and it's just never gone to his head. So I love that. Joe Robinette was a big favorite of mine for a long time. Like, he's sort of the one that inspired my camping videos, and I was like, no one's doing this on motorcycles. What? Camping videos are huge, but no one's doing it on motorcycles. So Joe was a big fan. And then Everride, obviously. Like, the reason that I ride off-road, the reason why I bought a dual sport in the first place is Everride. And I will forever give that guy credit. So the first time he commented on one of my videos, I thought my head was going to explode. And we've talked a couple times. Like, but one time he posted. So I'm in his supporters group, right? And I posted a video of the biggest mistakes ADV riders makes. and he posted it and said, God, I hate it when someone comes up with the same idea as me and it's really good. And so so I scrapped my video. And I was like, what? Like, are you talking about my video? Like, you're the Godfather. I'm just some rando. But yeah, so definitely Everide, Joe, and I love camping with Steve. I've lost a little respect for Fortnite lately. Some people, I know. I'm not trying to get into that particular hot take, but
They've gone a weird direction lately.
yeah, well, it's just that telling people not to wear armor that's a bridge too far for me. It is. Like, I get your point, but everyone stand up right now and drop down onto your knees with no armor on and tell me if it hurts, and then do it again with armor in and tell me if it feels any better. Like, I just feel like it does help. Yeah. What's your question, sir?
Just to give you an update on camping with Steve, he's at $1.5 million.
Holy crap! Yeah, see, he never talks about it. So, $1.5 million. I think the last time I looked, it was like 300K. And he is in Seattle right now. Last time he posted, so he got his passport. He might be camping. He might be stealth camping under one of these semis right now. He's like, stealth camping at the biggest ADV rally in America. Some idiot's talking about me in a tent over there. He doesn't even know I'm here.
You won't believe what happens next.
What's up?
What's the hardest part about content creation?
Great question. Great. What's the hardest part about content creation? One, well, people don't understand that there's actually work involved. And there is. I'm not complaining. Best job on earth. You know, editing is boring or whatever, but beats trying to wrangle a bunch of 14-year-olds every day. Honestly, this is not a woe is me, poor me, but it's the negative comments that get to me really bad. To the point where I stay out of them. I won't even go in the comments sometimes, or I try to I don't want to seem like I'm not interacting, so lately it's just been I'll go in for the first 2 hours and kind of answer comments, because that's when the enthusiastic people are clicking in, not the randos who stumbled in from somewhere and don't know anything about me or my content, just they're waiting for something to disagree with, they hear it, they disagree and whatever, and I know, it's so funny because I remember whenever I'd complain about stuff like that, and I was like, dude, it's so clear that you're doing all this good and everybody loves you, and why are you focusing on this negative thing? And I get it now, because it's just man, I'm trying so hard, to be as objective as I can and be as honest as I can, and you're just being a dick for no reason. But the negative comments are hard, and then people always ask me if coming up with new content is hard. Are you afraid you're going to run out of ideas? And I'm lucky because I'm in a genre where because all I have to do is get on the bike and go ride and film it, right? And either something interesting comes out of it or it doesn't, but for some reason you guys like to watch me ride and talk to myself, so thank you for that. Because I'll never run out of that. Ever. So that's pretty good. And then I guess the other thing is maybe it's just kind of the fickle nature of the business, because I missed the last, what they called the adpocalypse. I don't know if you guys follow YouTube, you know what I'm talking about, but after a certain YouTuber made some very unsavory content and all the advertisers started pulling their content and suddenly nobody was making money. It used to be a lot easier to make money on YouTube. And then they made it a lot stricter and a lot harder, and certain advertising, blah, 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 whatever. So I came in after that, so it was already sucked when I started, so at least I didn't have to feel that. But I've always been lucky, again, back to the giant loop thing, that I have consistent income, right? And I'm not running their channel anymore. I started working for Moto Nerd because I want to help him build that business. But same thing, I have consistent income from that. So YouTube has not taken one of these drastic turns in the time that I've relied on it for my financial viability. But even if it did, I could probably get by. And I have friends like Jake the Garden Snake, who has, I don't know, 800,000 subscribers. Somebody will correct me in a minute, but I think it's around 800,000. He's like, God, I'm so jealous of your steady, because at one point he had to quit and go back and work at a dealership again, after the adpocalypse, because it's so fickle, right? And you have no control over it. YouTube will change things on the back end that suddenly no one sees your video. You can't do a damn thing about it. So we're wholly dependent on this company. And I made a video about this a while back. It's as long as you're making them money, they're probably going to push your content, but you got to understand that their purpose is not to help you grow your channel. Their purpose is to make money. So you got to make content that makes them money, kind of thing. But that's the other thing I guess I don't like, is at some point you have to be a little commercial. At some point I have to do a sponsorship or two, because that's what pays the bills, so I can go out and do the trips and make the content that people like. People don't like that sometimes. You freaking sell out. It's I still don't recommend things I don't like. But it's possible for me to like things that people pay me to recommend. That does happen. You may notice the sunglasses on my head after I made a video that's saying that they're terrible. I didn't say they're bad. Did you notice? I hedged that purposefully. I was I just think they're expensive, and they are. But And full kudos to Flying Eyes, because Grant like reached out to me and like he was like, well, you need to try them. Like, and that is so like ballsy. Like, oh, you said our product sucks? Well, we're not going to say we hate you. We're going to say try it, and you're wrong. And it's pretty good. So, oh, I don't know if you guys heard. I put it on. Now I'm doing commercials in my speech. If you go over to Flying Eyes and say Dork sent me, they'll let you borrow a pair for a day if you want to try them out before you spend $300 on a pair. So they're like $260 on a pair of sunglasses. So that's the thing that Grant set up. He literally messaged me. It was like, what if we did this? And I was like, if it helps people out, do it. But I also have a discount code, so maybe buy from the website. I don't know. But anyway, like I said, remember when I said you had to get commercials sometimes, and then I did a commercial? That was all sort of meta on purpose. What's up, man?
Is there a video that you're surprised that it got so many views, or the other way, when you got it great?
Yeah, good. That's a good question. So a video that I'm surprised that got a bunch of views, or one that I thought would and didn't. There's a lot that I think will and don't. And the YouTube algorithm is capricious. And sometimes it just depends on the day. Everide, who again I admire, once described it as a slot machine, right? You put the same quarter in every time, and sometimes it hits and sometimes it doesn't. And it's a million like if you put out a video with similar keywords to a huge channel who puts out a video on the same day, you might get a push that you never, but you don't know that's going to happen, right? So I think the ones that have surprised me the most. So my number one video of all time. Does anybody know what it is? Anybody want to guess what my number one video of all time is? No, you can't say if you've heard me talk about it before. T7 review? What? You've seen it before. Yeah. No, it's not about motorcycles at all. It's a short I made when those guys tried to rip me off buying my daughter's car. It is it's almost 2 million views now. My next highest, I think, is 500,000. And it's a motorcycle. So for the longest time, it was 10 things I wish I'd known before I bought a motorcycle. And I made that before I even started riding off-road. Like, it just randomly hit and just like blew up. And then the next two highest are the 2-hour Washington BDR and Oregon BDR full-length videos. So, which is weird because the individual videos, they did okay, right? So I did a series. I'll do one day per video because it's like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. But then, a month or two later, I'll edit them all together and then re-release it. And for some reason, those things just blow up. I think there's an untapped niche there in long form. And it's because YouTube is so interested in retention and watch time. Well, there's a lot of watch time on a 2-hour video. So, I don't know. So I'm definitely doing that again when I do the NorCal BDR here in a couple weeks. So, yeah. In terms of things that didn't do as well as I thought, all the time I think this is going to be a banger, and it's garbage. I'll do a sequel to a video that blew up, and it does nothing. Like, it's just so weird sometimes. So sometimes I'll remake it. I'm older now, so my take is different. I got 900 videos. Every once in a while I'm going to repeat myself. What's up, man?
Speaking of NorCal BDR, which bike are you taking, and which bike do you prefer to take on a BDR?
I was afraid that was going to come up. So the question is, as I mentioned, we're going on the Northern California BDR. Which bike am I taking? And which bike would I prefer to take? Okay. And this is why
I would say more or less like your preferred bike on a BDR. I guess it depends on if you're going solo or...
Yeah, and I sold my 450L, the BDR Slayer. I sold it. And that was a great bike to do BDRs on. I loved it, but it's just those types of motorcycles just don't do super well on the channel. So I bought it so I would be confident on the Oregon BDR, which is top 3 most difficult, right? Top third of difficulty of the BDRs. And I would say consistently, like the Washington has spikes of difficulty, but it's also easy for long periods of time. In Oregon, it's just like stuff's just coming at you all the time, right? So it was a great bike for that. But I don't want to ride it. It's 9 hours to the beginning of the California BDR from my house, and that makes me not want to take that bike. So I really, in my head, I was like, I'm going to be the first guy to do a BDR in a Trans Alp. I think that'd be good content. People want to see it. And then I bought a 790. I think I'm taking the 790. I just really like it. It's fun, and Grace will be on her Trans Alp, so we'll still make the same point. But because I'm trying to torture test, right, beat it up. Like the whole point is like I want this thing to break to validate all the stuff I've said before. So which is why it's different, right, than the typical KTM. Because people that review KTMs are generally like, well, I love KTMs and I know what I'm getting, and I'm just like, if this thing so much is like annoys me, I will tell you. Like I'll take it as validation of everything I've ever said. So I think I'm taking this honestly because it's just. it's just more comfortable and more confidence-inspiring off-road, and it's almost as good on the road as a Trans Alp to me, for what I like to do. So I think I'm taking this. Now, if I didn't have to ride to the start of the BDR, I would much prefer to be on a 500 EXCF or something like that every time, but the trade-off is you're suffering the whole way there, right? So, I don't know, I'm no expert. Like, I've only done 2, and I don't know if you remember, but 30% of the people that go on those don't finish them with us, so it's not like we're good at it. All right, we're down to like 4 minutes, so get your most important, most potent questions. What's up?
You may have gone over this in your videos, but what would you say are your 2 favorite sections of the Oregon BDR?
Oh, great question. Great question. I think my least favorite section is, you guys know, section 1. Yeah. And it's not section 1's fault because there's just nothing out there. I wish it was broken up, right? Because there's just no margin for error, and it's so long and it's really treacherous, and yeah, people make mistakes. I would know. We did. My favorite section is section 5 out of Sisters because it's my favorite part. It's probably my favorite place to ride in the world. And so coming out of Sisters, you got fun, kind of cinder, loose stuff. You got the Skylight Cave, which is this really cool and like minimal effort required to enjoy. Because we tried to go to Crack in the Ground, and I was like, wait a minute, it's a half-a-mile hike in these boots. I'm good. We just got back on the bike because we're trying to make time, whatever. But Skylight Cave's right there, and then it's onto one of my favorite sections. Like because I ride San Diego OHV a lot, right? Which is up there at Big Lake. And the road out to Cache Mountain, if you guys have watched the channel for long, you've seen me go up to Cache Mountain like 5 times, right? Like the trailer for the Oregon BDR came out, and I saw that section where they do the corner at the top of Cache Mountain. I pulled my phone, I texted Nathan right then. I was like, that's Cache Mountain, I know that! Because recognize it's one of my favorite places on earth. The view is just spectacular. And that's the expert section off of that. So that road, particularly the section from Cache Mountain to Big Lake, is one of my favorite pieces of off-road riding I've ever done. Like it's technical, it's challenging, but fun, fast and flowy all at the same time. And so that section 5 for sure, it gets pretty boring after Highway 20. It's just a bunch of those paved logging roads, and then but that first part of section 5 is beautiful. Mount Washington's there, it's so close it feels like you can touch it. 3 Sisters are there. Highly recommend that section. My Dork and the Road campout is on that section for a reason. Because that's when we go on our group ride, that's what we ride. Because if I can share one thing about my home state with people, I want it to be that section. Because I love that section. So definitely section 5. And then Bennett Pass is a real treat at the end when it's open and if you're not afraid of heights. Because there's quite a bit of exposure on that one. Well, I guess. Maybe there's not quite a bit, but what is there is significant. Let's put it that way. Great ride though. I love the Oregon BDR, so fun. We got 45 seconds. Who has the best last question ever? Who's the most enthusiastic? Oh, you're stretching so hard right now. And you have the coolest Pit Viper shades.
Thank you.
Yeah. What's your question? Make it good because everyone's going to be real disappointed if it sucks.
Unfortunately, I was raising my hand.
Okay, even better. Well, you'd have to be doubly good. Corded microphone. What decade is this? Question is about overcoming the anxiety and trepidation you feel after a hard fall. And I've had my share. And I always put them in the video, right? Like, some people would be tempted to edit that stuff out, but the whole point is like, I've always just wanted you to see what it's actually like, right? For good or for, I don't care if you think I suck at writing. I don't love it when you point it out in the comments, but I don't care if you know. I don't care if you know. I don't. It's not a secret. And so I try to always throw that stuff in, but that feeling, right? You're feeling confident, you're feeling awesome, you're crushing it, it's effortless. You're one with the motorcycle, and then something happens that you didn't expect, and you're on the ground. And it's like, what the hell happened? Like, and you get back on, and suddenly you're going slow, everything's scary, you're shaky, you're tense, right? Oh God. I always say confidence is the most important skill, and it is, because I watch people that suck get through things they shouldn't get through because they have confidence. And all I do is second guess myself, and I know I am a better rider technically, but I don't make it or whatever. This is fresh, and this is a good question because I just got back from that Canada trip, and day 2, if you guys see the video, patrons have seen it, was one of the hardest days of riding of my life because we just went out on these pristine, beautiful British Columbia single track trails. Unmolested because they're on private property, but it's just verticality. It was up and down, left and right. And it was stuff that it wasn't even a lot of it was hard, right? There was like a 60-foot hill climb at the beginning. But I was like, I'm gonna go back to the van, and they're like, no, this is the only one. Yeah, right. And you know, sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug. I think sometimes you get back. All you can do is get back on and keep riding, except when you shouldn't. Sometimes you have to, right? Because you're in the middle of nowhere or whatever. There's no stopping here. I don't know if you guys remember my Washington BDR video. We were climbing up through the jungle, and I just got super in my head about being on the edge of the cliff on the super rocky stuff. And I was like pushing and pushing, and I was like, I gotta stop. And I just stopped on the hillside like this, put the kickstand down. I was like, I'm in my head. I gotta stop. I gotta take a deep breath, because you get tunnel vision, right? And all you see is the bumps directly in front of your tire, and that's not good technique. That's just going to cause you to crash again. I feel like I'm rambling on because I don't have a good answer for this. All you can do is get back on the horse, right? Keep going. Remember the fundamentals that you've learned. I always say training is important, and I do think it is. Practice is equally important, because that's where you start to build that muscle memory. The things that you'll then do automatically, even when you're scared or not thinking about it. But don't be afraid to take a deep breath, to take a pause, take a break. You got to get out of your head sometimes. You got to let the adrenaline calm down. You got to hydrate. Because humans, we can't think when we're scared. Just like we can't learn when we're scared or when our basic needs are not being met, which is why I say don't ride at 100% of your ability. Ride at 70%, right? Push it now and then, but you need to be comfortable or you can't progress. You can't get better. So you know yourself better than anybody. I think the biggest thing we see is people pushing past because they're afraid of being seen as, I don't know, a wuss or your own ego. You're like, I don't want to be that guy or whatever. And I just think what we do is so dangerous. It can be, not all the time, that you got to take a moment for yourself. You got to wear your gear and you got to be in the right headspace. And if you're not, then you got to take a break. You have to. But you're better than you think you are. And you got to remember that too. Confidence is key. So in the moment, sometimes you get back on the bike, you keep riding, you're like, oh, no, I'm good. And other times you're like, I gotta sit here for a minute and just kind of get it together, because I know if I get back on the bike, I'm just gonna stare at what's right in front of my wheel, and I'm just gonna keep hitting it, right? You don't wanna be target fixating out there. So don't be afraid to take a break, I guess is the answer to that question, but sometimes the answer is just keep going, because you have to, right? Just keep swimming, that's what I say. Often, because momentum is so important, right? Like all these things apply like on the micro and the macro level, so a lot of times you'll hear me like, just keep riding, just keep riding, just keep riding, look up, like repeating the mantra of things I'm supposed to do automatically to myself. Don't be afraid to do that either. So just take care of yourself, because I would much rather wait for you for half an hour at an intersection than have to come back and find you crash in the ditch and like hit my SOS button, like seriously. So take care of yourself. I don't want to detract or take away from the obstacle course, so I'm going to stop talking. First of all, legal reminder. You may not participate in the obstacle course if you've been drinking here in the tent. However, I think there's some beer left in that keg, so we don't want it to go to waste, so have some if you... It's great to drink while you're watching. And again, I want to take this opportunity and every opportunity I get to say thank you to all of you for your support, because I have the greatest job in the world. And I can literally prepare nothing for a presentation and 100 people show up. So it's like, it looks like I am so professional. But so I appreciate all of you, appreciate your support, appreciate you being here, and I appreciate most importantly you guys taking care of each other, because that's really what it's about, right? When we're out there in the middle of nowhere, all we have is each other. And so it's important to be excellent to each other. I don't just mean it, I want you to live it. So thank you for being here, I appreciate you. If you see me around and you want to stop and say hi, do that. I'm going to put some stickers here on the counter if you want. This is my last one, so grab them now. And Isabel puts them up here too for you if you want. They glow in the dark. Yeah. So feel free. Oh, and I was supposed to tell you, is it in here? Saturday night we're going to do like a a presenter meet and greet, so we'll be back here with some more beverages, and Amanda and a bunch of people will be here, so come back for that. But also, there's some Giant Loop beer in here if you want one. Woo! Yeah! Take a sticker, say hi. Thank you all for being here.
Excellent!
I hate cameras, they're dumb. It started filming, that's